Prometheus was God who brought fire to Earth, supposedly. Prometheum is a company in crypto that came out of nowhere and wants to leave every crypto company outside of them scorched earth. There's a ton of red flags going on with this company, and it's a continuing developing story. In fact, Aaron Kaplan, their CEO, has said that basically everybody else in crypto other than them, well, they're criminals. Let's find out what I got to say about this. Let's get it. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben. Today we're going to be talking about Prometheum, and man, it is sketchy. So here we are on the Prometheum website. Basically, what Prometheum is it's the first ATS trading platform to get approved by the SEC. That means alternative trading system. Now, I want you to check something out on the Prometheum website, which is very interesting. Remember, nobody had heard of this before an SEC hearing recently. Let's scroll down here. You guys can see right here, this is a copy of what their website is going to look like on mobile now, or their platform. Now keep in mind, they don't really have anything to show, they're vaporware. But hypothetically, this is what it could look like. Individual investors join our waitlist. You get the benefits of blockchain and the investor protections of securities. So what they're saying here is that Compound, Filecoin, Flow, Cello, and the Graph are all securities. They're calling them out as securities here on this graphic. It's unbelievable. So let's move on here. Here's Representative Mike Flood. Let's check what he had to say during that hearing and a specific question that he asked Aaron Kaplan.
I'd like to point out when the...
I'm going to reclaim my time. Mr. Kaplan, did Prometheum receive any additional exemptive relief from the SEC that has not been publicly shared?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Prometheum's special purpose broker-dealer license does not address the core issue. There is not a consistent definition of a digital asset security within current law.
So here you can see Mike Flood at this hearing. You can tell by his question of Aaron Kaplan, he believes that there are some special exemptions that have been given from the SEC specifically to Prometheum, which we know had to be true because this company came out of nowhere. So here we go from Mad Scientist Crypto, Mad Sci Crypto. I'm going to be at a decentralized science crypto conference, by the way, next week in New York. Check me out there. I was sitting there in the hearing going to say, who the F is this guy? Trying to research in real time and wanting nothing more than to get behind a mic and ask questions. Sitting there the whole time, passing notes back and forth like they were in high school. Someone from the SEC was feeding Aaron Kaplan talking points. Absolutely disgusting. This guy doesn't even know anything about crypto. As you can see by what we just showed you, he wants to say everybody else in crypto is a criminal. But I tell you, the only crime in this picture, this. Somebody call a haircut. Somebody call a barber. This guy needs to have his bad haircut cut. Let me tell you, nobody we go harder at on this channel, people with bad haircuts, including Aaron Kaplan, including Sam Bankman-Fried, including Gary Gensler and Brad Sherman. 2 men, 1 haircut. Remember that. Now, guys, let's check out their Twitter account. This is pretty funny here, guys. Guys, they were on Bloomberg, they were on Unchained, they were on all kinds of stuff. At the end of this video, we're going to take a look at one of those interviews. I'm going to show you my reaction to some of the stupid stuff that this man bun guy had to say. But guys, we did research for this video 3 weeks ago. I want you guys to understand, 3 weeks ago. This number of Twitter followers they have right there, it was 3,200. They've gained, with all of this publicity, exactly 113 followers in the last 3 weeks. Guys, nobody cares about this company, and yet all of a sudden they're the most important company in crypto. Can't tell me that old Gary Gensler did not have something to say about that. And of course, we've covered this before on the channel. This is Adam Cochran. He has a tweet thread about this whole entire saga. They started in 2017 when they filed their Reg A, and he goes on to say a lot more, but he brings up a lot of the super sketchy stuff about this company. Now, here he goes into some specifics I want to show you guys, which is here, the second tweet. It says, look no further than their team, including Rosemarie Finelli, who worked for the New York Stock Exchange, and then FINRA. You guys can see her experience right here. Then we move down here to John Tornatore from the CBOE, which is the Chicago Board of Options and Exchanges, I believe. And you guys can see here, CBOE Global Markets. Man, you love their supporting with the rainbow. Man, I sure love getting trendy with your finance companies, talking about how to live your life socially. But there's more. Let's go down to the next douchebag in this douchebag trio. We got Joseph Zangri. Yep. Where did he work? The SEC. So you can already see the sloppy overlay of all these companies, all these scamming three-letter agencies to push this forward as a legit company when it clearly is not. Not to mention, of course, that Aaron Kaplan, you can't make this stuff up. Aaron Kaplan's dad is a former high-ranking SEC enforcement attorney. I tell you what, when I was a kid, they used to hide the corruption. Now they just put it out there like a man bun for everybody to see. Man, when I was a kid, you would have been ashamed to rock a man bun, I'll tell you that. But there is so much more to this psyop. So guys, how did this company get their crypto license? Well, you look no further here. Also curious is the following. This is coming from zerohedge.com. According to PitchBook, they raised $48.19 million. Of that, they paid more than $1.5 million in sales commissions to a New Jersey-based firm called Network One Financial Securities. Like Prometheum, they're also a Chinese link company. Very, very interesting. Starting to see the Chinese CCP connections. Don't worry, guys. There are plenty more here, but I do want to note this about them. Network One has over 20 regulatory or civil actions against them. They were also behind an iced tea company, not be confused with Ice Cube, an iced tea company that pivoted to blockchain in 2017 and scammed everybody. So these companies have already been associated with giant scams. And then, of course, you know, you can't go wrong here talking about this here. Wang, however you want to pronounce it, I don't know. But check this out. You guys can see right here the connections between the CCP, Wang Zhang. It goes deep. You've got Barack Obama. You have the puppet himself, Joe Biden, involved. You have John Kerry involved. You have all of these people involved. So many, I don't recognize any of these people outside of that. They're probably important politicians. This looks like, I don't know, this looks like a scary cover of a movie. But this is unbelievable. This is the second company, as you can say, Zero Hedge also mentions this, where they talk about Wang Zhang. See right here, Wang Zhang Blockchain, general partner at Finbush. This goes so deep with this company. They're heavily embedded with the CCP. Many of the world leaders also are connected between them and guess who? Ethereum. They're even the #1 exporter of uranium out of North Korea. It's the same Wang Zhang behind Ethereum. They say their #1 client is Vitalik Buterin. So what kind of connections here do we have between the CCP, Vitalik Buterin, Wang Zhang, the SEC? I tell you, what a twisted tale we weave. So you guys may love college football. I love college football. Why do I love college football? Well, it's because I'm a Georgia Bulldogs fan. We win every single year now because we are the greatest team in history. After we three-peat this year, go Dogs. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, point is though, is one of our rivals, Auburn University. We play Auburn every single year, and one of their coaches, one of their great coaches, led them almost to the promised land back, I believe it was 2003, would have been Tommy Tuberville. Jason Campbell was quarterback. They went undefeated. They didn't even win a national championship. That was last time the SEC got disrespected. But what I will tell you is this. He's now a senator, and guess what Senator Tommy Tuberville says to Chair Gensler and Mr. Cook, asking about what Prometheum and their connections to the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. You can see it right there. It is. Guys, there is some serious bad stuff going on. And the Senate, even an old football coach, even an old ball coach, he knows it. But why is the old ball coach so concerned? Well, guys, guess what? If the CCP has access to Prometheum and Prometheum forces people to do KYC, which they will, that means the CCP has access to your home address, to your phone number, to your email address, to your social security number. Let's think about these guys. This is very sensitive data, and the old ball coach, Tommy Tuberville, well, he knows about PsyOps. He knows about scouting the other team. He's scouting the CCP, and he says they're bad. Prometheum, they're just as evil. So basically, the way you can think of it here, you can think of the Senate here as Auburn University, and you look at Prometheum and Wang Zhang, well, dang, that's Alabama Crimson Tide right there, I'll tell you what. All right, moving on here, guys. From digital perspectives, Dig Perspectives here on Twitter. In his own words, it sounds like Aaron Kaplan from Prometheum isn't being truthful in his congressional testimony. They're not a partner, they're our co-founder. We work hand in hand with them. Let's see what they had to say. Absolutely unbelievable. Caught in a bold-faced lie on behalf of Gary Gensler and the SEC, of course, who is pushing him to this in Congress. A congressional testimony where this man literally lied to Congress. Was he lying to Congress or is he lying to the people in that audience? Either way, Aaron Kaplan with his man bun, complete liar. And I tell you, I'm sorry, audience. I just got to say, if you have a man bun, I love you. You're a great BitSquad member. We want you here, but we also want you to snip that thing off. Also, I would like to say a personal, heartfelt apology to Gareth Solway. Now, it's weird, isn't it? Because in the congressional testimony, he certainly says they're linked to Wancheng blockchain or Wanchong, however he says it. But check this out, guys. Once Tommy Tuberville sends his letter, you start to see how these wheels of motion are adding on. We formally terminated all co-development work and strategic relationships with Wancheng and its affiliates on October 21st, 2021. Prometheum has severed all intellectual property and technology ties to Wancheng, giving it, is that Wang Chung? Everybody Wang Chung tonight. Giving it and its affiliates no access to any information that could expose the U.S. or its citizens to risk. I want to give you guys two words. Here's what this means. Let me tell you, I'm going to break all this down. It's called plausible deniability. That's exactly what is going on here. And we've already shown you can't believe a word that comes out of this man's mouth. Very similar to another bad haircut guy that I know. Now, here, I want to move on. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this Unchained. We're going to watch a couple clips, and I'm going to react to these clips from Laura Shin. You know, she does a great job as a reporter. As her thing is she wants to be unbiased, so she doesn't buy any Bitcoin. So, you know, we do wish her good luck on being poor. But regardless of that, let's check out this first clip here and see what Aaron had to say.
Let him finish.
My main point here is that we should not be distracted by Prometheum and think that we've solved the regulatory morass that we have and actually engage with the thoughtful legislation that has been put forward. That's my main point.
Which you don't want to discuss.
The reason you alienated the community, Aaron, is because you called everybody a scofflaw, and you should have a little bit more empathy for the entrepreneurs that have been, with the best intentions, trying to make this work. And you go around saying that everybody's violating the law willingly and that you've somehow magically pulled, you know, a rabbit out of a hat, which this is, like, frankly, like, this is a space where a lot of people have been, you know, actively working on it. And it's even more insulting when you don't have anything really to show for it other than a license.
What's a little bit insulting is that you basically say people who are trying to do it the right way are trying to do the wrong thing. And essentially what your argument is that people who rush to market and disregarded the investor protections should be rewarded and should continue to be rewarded as new legislation takes a half a decade to go into place. Basically, you just don't care about the public and what...
He's such a liar. Guys, what he's trying to argue here is that it doesn't matter if you're a good faith actor. It doesn't matter if you tried to follow the right path. Very clearly, there's a very specific path of compliance, and his company, backed by the CCP, is the only company that was willing to walk that line. That's right, guys. Coinbase wasn't willing to walk it. No company's been willing to walk it. Aaron Kaplan, let's just, hats off to you. Man buns off to you. Absolutely phenomenal what you've been able to do here with your scam of a company and vaporware. Congratulations. Everyone in crypto is not a criminal, but I can say without a doubt, this man is. All right, let's look at the next clip here.
Down they could save. It's nonsense. Basically, this is an investment. It's so clear it's an investment that people speculate in.
On commodities all the time.
I agree.
Turn them into securities.
But Bitcoin's not corn.
I agree with that.
Yeah, what disclosures will you be putting up? Like, is it
all the disclosures that are required under the federal securities laws?
Right, but so those would be like board of directors, corporate policies, executive. So how does that apply for something like Ethereum? Like,
again, if those don't exist, you literally put NA.
Oh, so you're gonna put a bunch of disclosures that say NA.
No, I'm not going to go into specifics about what we're going to disclose. We're going to disclose everything that's required under the federal securities
laws. Let's get specific about the law. Under Exchange Rule 15C211, brokers cannot enter a quote into a quotation system unless there's current information available for that security. So that means you need the projects to provide that current information. That's not something that Prometheum as an ATS or an SPBD can do, right?
I'm sure we're in compliance with 15C211.
How are you going to do that if there's no public
encourage you to go do some homework. I don't need to tell you how everything's going to be in compliance. I'm telling you it's in compliance. Basically, I
Guys, As you can see in this clip here, what his reaction is, every time he asks me a question, hey, listen, we're in compliance. Okay, but what are you gonna put? We're in compliance. Okay, but what disclosure are you gonna put? The required disclosures. He has no answers because his company is vaporware. It is a scam by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission to try to make it look like there is a path. I tell you what, I invite Aaron Kaplan to come on this show. And Mr. Kaplan, you want to talk about compliance? Come on this show, buddy. We've already invited you, and we haven't got a response yet. Isn't that funny? The show where you're actually going to get asked tough questions, which hats off to Rodrigo here, Sierra for Paradigm, for asking tough questions and making him look like, no other way to say it, a total ass. All right, next clip here. Let's check this one out here. Oh, I guess we can't question him. I guess you're going to ask questions, but remember, they're under compliance.
Network One Financial has also been the subject of 18 regulatory events, 1 civil event, and 4 arbitrations. And a few of those include the notorious Long Island Iced Tea Company, which pivoted to Long Blockchain and was subject to an SEC enforcement action. So how did Network One Financial become your broker?
Network One was our placement agent in a capital raise.
And how did that happen?
Basically, there was a relationship form where they agreed to raise capital in order and basically take a commission. It's like any other placement agent.
How did you find them?
Network One has been on Wall Street for a long time, to my understanding. And I would point out, how many violations do any of the major banks have on their record? I think it's a way to sort of cherry pick facts in some capacity.
Okay, so the deflection is unreal. Now, did you notice when Laura started asking this question, you see the smile on Rodrigo's face? That's a great smile. Why? Because he knows he has him here. This man deflects, he doesn't answer the question, and instead, he tries to push back on Rodrigo and say, well, your company represented SPF, which, yeah, that definitely sucks. But that has nothing to do with whether or not you did the right thing. He can't give any explanation. This man, once again, is long on hot air and short on answers. So let's move on to the next clip. We want to talk about some more just bold-faced lies. Here we go. Check this one out.
Okay. There were times during your testimony when it looked like you were reading your answers. What were you reading?
Basically, I had thought I had prepared good responses and was looking in my notes. Obviously, we had prepared extensively to testify, and there was a lot I wanted to make sure to cover. So I wanted to make sure in looking at my answers that I was proper and thorough in my responses.
Okay. And so none of the representatives previewed any of their questions for you?
Again, we were aware of the topics they covered, but we did not know the exact questions.
Another bold-faced lie. We know, Aaron, that you are in bed with the SEC. The only question is when you are in bed with Gary Gensler specifically. I know he loves Elizabeth Warren, and we know they've got kind of a weird relationship going on. But you know what the thing about Elizabeth Warren, the banking broad, is she has short hair. Does he have you keep the man bun up? Or does he have you take it down when you're in bed with Gary Gensler? Giving you all the questions ahead of time. Last one, let's check out this. This is Rodrigo giving some closing points, and man, he is dead on here. I don't know Rodrigo from Adam, but man, he is on fire on this interview.
Well, any final closing thoughts from, I'll take a final closing thought from each of you.
After you, Rodrigo.
Sure. I think my main point in coming here is to try to stress the fact that we're at a critical point in the national discourse about crypto policy. The current status quo doesn't work. There's a regulatory gap that has been acknowledged by SEC Chair Gensler and the SEC staff. And I'm very worried that Prometheum is being used as a distraction to divert from the real regulatory progress that we need to make. So I would urge our policymakers to engage with the legislation that is put forward so that we can provide a framework that includes consumer protection and also allows entrepreneurs a viable path to launching in the US.
What does Bukowski say? Those who preach peace need peace. Those who preach war need war. Essentially, those who preach that the status quo needs to change were the ones who established the status quo in the first place. And the hypocrisy and the irony attendant to that is very comical, because the reality is how do we best protect the American investment public? And the best way to do that is the Pharaoh's
shaky. So according to Aaron, just like Prometheus brought fire to the earth and changed everything, only Prometheum brings the truth about securities laws. They're the only ones that have investor protections. Meanwhile, he's passing notes back and forth, bold-faced lying, says he knew all of the things he was going to say. You want to see the face of a liar? You want to see the face of scum? Do you want to see the face of exactly what's wrong in our bureaucratic America? This man, Aaron Kaplan, is exactly what is wrong. He is in bed with the three-letter agency, the one we hate the most, the one who is all but losing all their power in crypto. And they try to use Prometheum as their secret fire to bring it back. Guys, the SEC lost to Ripple. The SEC's going to lose many more cases. They're going to lose all their power in crypto. And this power play by Mr. Aaron Kaplan, it's going to end up being nothing but shooting blanks. That's all I got. Be blessed. BitBoy out.